Well, folks, this week we're doing something a little different, but actually a little familiar, but a little different from what was familiar. Brian is in the Middle East. We sent him over there to cover a story.
Annie Ganesh.
Yeah. The Middle East, Annie Ganesh. That's a Nova Scotia joke. He's in Dubai, hanging out with his brother. So he's out of town, and I figured, you know what? There's lots of things to be celebrating here at Snack Labs, the headquarters where we bring you podcasts like this, Sick Boy. And Brian's out of town. And so why don't we come back to the OG Feel Good Friday kind of vibes, just do a little host episode and not include Brian, but instead replace Brian with our latest employee, our first full-time employee that we've ever hired here, which
employee
is
number one,
fucking super cool.
Addition to the team.
Haeley, hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the Sick Boy podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Now you have diabetes. You
Yeah.
got diabetes.
I got diabetes.
But we're not going to be talking about that.
Okay.
But who knows? Maybe, I don't know. Do you want to talk about diabetes?
No, I don't know. We don't have to.
How's your blood sugar?
Oh, that's a good question. It's usually through the roof, but
High.
Hi.
It does have
this woman some insulin.
my app, like the Libre, like actually when it goes above, I think it's like above 20 and like normal ranges between 5 to 7, it doesn't say anything like past like 22 or something. It just says high. Like it just says HI. It just says high.
Huh.
That's like, oh,
It's
okay.
called Libre?
Yeah, Freestyle Libre.
That sounds like
the
that sounds
sensor.
like a period tracking app.
Or like a Jack Black movie.
Right. Yeah,
Nacho
totally.
Libre.
That's right. That's right. Picking up what
Cool.
I'm putting down.
Yes.
Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to your place of work.
Yep.
Uh,
First impressions of work.
I guess we should
What do
say
you
you've been working for us now for like a week,
two, almost
3
coming up on 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks. Okay, time is weird.
Time's fine.
How's it been?
Great.
Cool. We're throwing you in the deep end today, just bringing you on the show. You didn't know we were doing this today, so
Who's your favorite?
oh, nice.
Oh.
I already know the answer to this.
I mean, I feel like you guys all just bring great energy, different energy.
Shut up!
You tell the truth.
You smug, sanctimonious bitch.
Tell the truth.
That was a very diplomatic answer.
It's everyone but Jeremy.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Fucking, you bloody.
Yeah, fuck you, bloody. All right, well, let's get into it. I've got some stuff prepped today. I'm really excited to talk about this. So a couple of weeks ago on our wrap up segment, we talked about the sisters, the conjoined twins that married the dude.
Mm-hmm.
I forget their names. Haeley. These lovely ladies and this lovely gentleman. They were conjoined twins. They are conjoined twins, and forever will be, which we're going to get into. And they, one of the two, I think it was Brittany, married this gentleman, and everybody online was all up in fucking hoopla because it's like, all right, well, who's banging who? Like,
I have a question for you, based on this photo, because I don't know. Go back to the photo.
Yep.
Because I don't know which one is which.
Hard to tell. They're twins,
Right. And together. Which one is married to the guy?
The one on
based on this photo.
the one on the outside, like on the left. Because she has like her arm around him, and I feel like
yeah.
if you
Okay.
weren't, you would just like kind of be posing with
Right.
It
them.
looks like she has a ring too,
Okay.
and that's
Oh,
her.
okay,
That's
yeah.
that's their right arm,
Right, it would
but
be
it's
switched.
her arm.
Mhm.
Which would probably
true,
be
yeah.
weird if the sister who
Wore
has
it
the
on the
left
left.
arm was wearing the ring because that's
Yeah.
her arm technically.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would guess the sister on the outside is, I believe, Brittany.
And I'm actually not taking the piss. Like these are
No, no.
these are fascinating questions to
Yeah,
ask.
yeah, totally. So we talked about that story, and it was really really interesting. And I want to dive back into some more twin content. Brian's going to be sad because Brian's not here because he is quote unquote a real twin. But we all know the realest twins are
Together.
conjoined twins, and so let's get into some twin content.
Twins, yes. We're going to see
We're going to see the twins. Yeah. But we're
Oh
gonna,
my God,
we're-
it's been way too long since I've seen.
Yeah.
we're
Austin
going.
Powers.
We're going to stick with the conjoined twins segment. So this is an article that I stumbled across, and it was all about the separation of conjoined twins, how it's possible, when it's not possible, but also what happens if let's say one of these two ladies gets sick.
Mhm.
What happens to the two of them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because they're together really below the neck. So
They're
I mean,
together below the neck, but they also so what I know from when we covered this story is that those two women, they have their own individual organs where they conjoin internally, where they share the same organs is below the waist. So their reproductive organs are the same, but they each have their own heart, they each have their own digestive system,
Right.
they each have their own
like
yada,
the
yada,
reproductive organs, including like uterus,
Yeah.
fallopian.
yada. Yeah.
So they're the same. They share one reproductive
That's right.
system.
But they have their own individual organs, within the thoracic area. Now, one of the interesting things that I read when I was doing some research here is about when conjoined twins feel pain. So when Brittany feels pain, God damn, I wish I fucking knew their names. But when Brittany feels pain, they both feel pain. So if one has a stomach ache, they're both feeling the stomach ache, even though only one of them is having a stomach ache.
Wow.
Isn't that fucking wild?
Yes.
Well, I feel like twins like that aren't conjoined even have that like twin telepathy and
That sort of like sympathetic connection of some sort. Yeah. Like if Brian is here in Halifax and gets a raging boner, Dennis
Yeah.
in Dubai is
Right.
like, whoa.
It's like quantum positioning.
He's like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, Dennis actually.
I'm fucking coming.
Oh my God.
Whoa, Jesus.
Oh, Jesus
Christ.
Christ.
What
Dennis,
the fuck?
Dennis had I'll say that Dennis at one point, I won't go into the details. I'll spare him the details. He's probably listening to this. Dennis had a catastrophic, phallic injury at one point.
Ouch.
Put it that way. And I was with Brian when it happened. I didn't know that it happened to Dennis when it happened.
But you
But I
found
was
out
with Brian.
you were
and
with Brian and Brian just went,
doubled over.
and you were like, Bri, what's up? What's wrong, Bri? What's wrong?
Yeah. Later that day, saw Dennis.
Did
And
Brian
Den-
actually
and-
keel
and Den-
over?
And Dennis
actually?
said, "Do you guys know what happened to me today?" And I said, "Wait, at 1:36?" And he said, "Yeah, at 1:36."
Are you for real?
And I was like, "Well, something obviously very painful happened because Brian all of a sudden couldn't even speak. He was in so much pain."
Are you pulling my leg?
No, I'm very serious.
Wow. Crazy.
It was amazing.
Damn.
And did Brian, like when that happened, did Brian say any, like, did he like, what did he didn't feel dick pain. What did he feel?
He said, "Ouch, ouch, my wiener is on fire."
No. Okay. Fuck off, dude.
Ouchie.
All right. You are fucking with me. So what actually happens if one conjoined twin dies, but the other continues living? Okay. So it's an interesting question, to say the least, and one that many don't know the answer to. But what would happen if a conjoined twin sadly died while the other one survives? There are many different factors that you have to take into consideration, starting with the fact that there is more than one type of conjoined twin. So conjoined twins are twins that have been born physically attached to one another, an incredibly rare situation. It usually comes with many complications during pregnancy, delivery, and once they are born. Due to advancements in modern medicine, it has become possible for some conjoined twins to be surgically separated, though some stay connected their entire lives. A large number of conjoined twins will require special medical care for the rest of their lives to help with their long-term health. Now, speaking of separating conjoined twins, there are certain types of twins that can be separated, certain types of twins that cannot be separated. One of the ones that blows my fucking mind, I would have assumed can't be separated, is when they are directly attached from the head.
Mhm.
Oh my God,
So
yeah.
I have an animation here that actually shows what happens. I actually meant to mute this, but I guess we're going to listen to it. I'm actually going to talk over this and mute this in the post. So what we see here are two twins that have one shared head. You can see that they have a big, massive brain. So if you're not watching on YouTube, I'll explain it. They're showing these babies with one head, shared brain. They inject them with something that just shrinks their little brain into two pieces. And then they draw a line over their head. They put patches on their head and make their head expand and grow. And they split them apart. Then they take bars of soap and they just put bars of soap in to replace where their skull would be. And they fold the flaps over. And then they end up having two identical Cailloux.
They are Cailloux.
And that's how twins are separated from the skull. You just end up with a Caillou. Caillou times two.
I now you've made me hate conjoined twins because I hate Caillou.
Dude, he's such a fucking baby. He whines so much.
Yeah.
He's just all the time.
That really
Yeah,
hurt.
shut the fuck up, Caillou. So, conjoined twins, if you didn't know, they're essentially one fertilized egg that splits into two embryos, but just don't have the gusto to split.
It doesn't split
fully.
with enough momentum.
Yeah. Scientists still don't know why or how it happens, suggesting that the eggs are never separate or that they reattach after separating. It is estimated that 1 in 200,000 live births result in conjoined twins, though more than half of conjoined twin pregnancies result in miscarriage or stillbirth, while many die shortly after birth. And this can be joined at, like we said, many different places: the chest, the abdomen, the lower back, the pelvis, the head. They may share certain organs depending on the type. So what happens if conjoined twins get sick? Well, according to two of the most famous conjoined twins, Abby and Brittany Hensel, that's the names, Abby and Brittany, who made headlines recently after Abby got married. Abby got married, not Brittany. There we go. Fucking corrected.
There you go.
They can feel each other's pain, previously saying that they can that they feel each other's stomach aches despite having separate organs from the waist up. Brittany revealed in an interview, quote, "But when we have stomach aches, it hurts on the opposite side." Isn't that weird?
Very weird.
So they will, like, one will have a stomach pain.
That's wild.
And the other one's feeling the stomach pain on the other side, even though the stomach that's having the pain is on whether, the right side or whatever. Fucking
It'd be
bizarre.
very fascinating to know about, and I'm sure very complex. To a conversation that we had the other day, which I won't go into because I don't know the order in which these episodes are coming out, but
This is coming out next week.
is about if one of them
I see what you're saying.
how the tie-in with physical health and mental health, like when you have a mental health issue, there's usually like a lot of physical manifestations that could easily be construed as like a physical health problem, and then you actually find out that the root of it is maybe depression or anxiety or something like that.
Dude, if you've got a mental illness, like, fucking turn up, dude.
Hell yeah,
like,
dude.
seriously, dude. Like, whatever the fuck you got going on,
Shout
dude.
out.
Fucking, you're medicated, you're not medicated, dude. Like,
Ouchie.
Shout out mental illness. Is if one of them has a mental illness and there's like a physical manifestation of that,
Yeah.
do they both feel it?
Right.
Do they does one get lethargic if one of them is experiencing depression? Like, how does that work?
does one get the zoomies and the other one's like I'm sleepy?
One's
right?
like- right, 'cause the
like
opposite thing.
energy wise or whatever.
Right.
Like,
Because one of them
right.
wants to stay in bed.
Yeah.
Because
Imagine
they're
one's like
depressed.
insomniac.
and the other one's like, I need coffee. Sorry. Like,
yeah. Or like, I'm tired.
Man, so
like-
many questions.
Yeah.
Every question just begs another
Yeah.
question.
So the likelihood of survival, so going back to the idea of one gets sick and or dies, the likelihood of survival here is heavily depending on the type of conjoined twin that they are. So, for example, thoracopagus twins, meaning that they share the heart and the circulatory system, they are more likely to succumb to sepsis. Dr. Eric Strauch, a pediatric surgeon at the University of Maryland Hospital for Children, was asked this question and what would happen if they got sick and died. And he said, very simply, they die. He said, once the dead twin's heart stops, the blood stops pumping, the vessels dilate, and the conjoined twin will essentially bleed into the dead twin. If that doesn't happen acutely, say it's a small connection, there will be an infection in a matter of hours. If surgeons are there when the first twin dies, then it's possible to do a surgery and save the other. I don't think anyone's ever done that, he said. It would essentially mean that they would have to be in the hospital beforehand with a team of medical professionals ready to go on and carry out the separation surgery, which can be fucking 10 to 25 hours long, like a really, really long surgery.
And probably like high chance of being not successful.
That's right. So doctors usually attempt to separate conjoined twins before one of them passes if they knew that this was coming up, as they, if they knew that one was already dying, and the goal is to try to save the other, obviously. The lucky and rare case of Aaron and Abby Delaney in 2016 saw both twins survive separation surgery as babies and have gone on to have healthy lives. A lot of other situations show that shared systems often leaves a twin without the organs necessary for survival, with separation surgery often posing a huge conundrum for parents or the conjoined twins themselves, as they have to decide if they want to risk life or death after the procedure. In Abby and Brittany's case, separation as infants would have likely resulted in death, which is what led to their parents making the decision to not go ahead with that. So what if you did nothing at all? Well, probably the most famous conjoined twins of all time, and this is really interesting, I didn't know this, Siamese twins. Do you guys know where Siamese twins, that term comes from?
Cats.
Right.
No.
Yes.
Siamese cats.
That's what I would have gone with.
So the Siamese twins were actually Chang and Ang Bunker. They were connected at the sternum and they shared a liver. Here is this is quite a long time ago. So here is the two of them. This is a video that took old photos of these guys and kind of recolored them and added some AI to give their faces some movement. So you see they're smiling now. They weren't smiling. Oh, hey! Now they're really happy. That's
Wait,
happy
who
bunkers.
Made this? Wait,
I don't know. Some guy on
You
YouTube.
just-
Now they're sad,
You just found this.
and now they're growing beards, and now they're old. Look at that.
Wow.
This is fun, right?
This really went like the extra.
And they dyed their hair
Yeah.
after they were old. And whoa, I don't know what that was.
So they're just called Siamese twins.
So these guys were from Siam, now known as Thailand, and they were called the Siamese twins because circus impresario P.T. Barnum put these guys, Chang and Ang, in his 19th century freak show, and the Bunker Boys were known in Siam, which is now called Thailand. The term freak show is now known as reality TV.
That's great.
So the Siamese twins made money by putting themselves on display in an act and eventually settled in the U.S. and had a bunch of children after marrying a pair of sisters. When I say a bunch of children, guess how many children is a bunch?
23.
Whoa, I'm gonna say a bunch is 8.
Well, if we're going by Price is Right rules,
I hope Haley's right.
if we are going by Price is Right rules,
I won.
Taylor technically won. But
Thanks for
Haeley,
taking
you
the
were
time to find
out.
far closer. So they had 21 children.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Between
Let's
two
go.
women?
And two men with one body.
No, they have
Do
two
they?
bodies.
Well, they have
just-
one body, but they're two men in one body.
Oh, right. But it looked like they were just conjoined at the chest. Like it looked
Oh
like
yes,
they
two
both,
penises.
They
Yeah.
both had their two legs and
Yes,
two penises.
yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, two. Yeah, but one body.
Right. They're just like they're like
There's another three body problem joke in there somewhere. I don't know.
You're
but
right. Like if
but
we chest bumped and
Yeah.
stuck together, that's what they
had the ultimate chest bump.
had the ultimate chest bump. Right.
So one day, here's the interesting part about these brothers. One day in their mid 60s, these guys lived they lived a fucking life. They were in their mid 60s. Ang woke up to see that his brother had died, passed away from a blood clot, and apparently Ang said, "Then I am going to." And before following his brother, just before following his brother and passing away 3 hours later from a pulmonary edema and heart failure. According
Wow.
to a 2009, right. And so little piece here where I actually found some of this info. According to a 2009 article from Esquire, I didn't say this. They said it. I didn't say this. They said it. Esquire said this, not me. 2009, they wrote it. You can Google it and you can find it. They said it. They married sisters and are jointly credited with originating the phrase, "She's so ugly, I wouldn't bang her with your cock."
Wait, what?
Wow.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Neither did I. Now, we might have to take that out. Yeah, so fucking fascinating.
That is very fascinating because Siamese, because I feel like when you grow up and you learn of conjoined twins, at least when I was growing up, you learned about them as.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey.
I mean, you just knew that they were called.
Well, hey, whoa, hey. Yeah, and it just came from Ang and Chang. And that term is actually, I think, not allowed. Not allowed. I think that's like a pejorative term.
Oh, really?
Twins, yeah.
Yeah.
I did not even know
thought
that.
I think
I mean, I would guess. I would assume.
No, I think you're right. I feel like I heard that was like.
Oh, by the way, if people are wondering,
Not
I did
the
say Brian
thing.
was in Dubai. The reason he moved to Dubai is because he said seeing Icane last week
Yeah.
on the episode, and
was.
and CBC basically said, "Get the fuck out of Canada,
Yeah,
dude."
yeah, you're out of here.
So and
You're
Taylor,
fucking out.
it looks like you're next.
Looks like
So
I'm on the
Haeley,
way
it
out
looks like
too.
it's just down to you and me.
Just the two of us.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. But I can't get enough. I can't get enough of the twin content. But we'll probably have to take a little break. But I do love twins.
Solarium is at the far end of the west.
Come play with us, Stewie. Forever and ever and ever.
This will end the twin thing.
Oh, clumsy oof! Michael Flatley must.
Now I know where your twin thing comes from. The Shining.
Yeah.
You got such a twin thing.
Yeah. Not that kind of thing. Not the.
You have such a twin
It's
thing.
It's not the like. Oh, whoops. That was wrong. I was looking for the fuck me, fuck you. Here, I got one more thing that we could talk about that I think is kind of interesting. And I would actually, I feel like I would love to get a guest on to talk about this, whether it's someone who actually experienced it or whether it was more so from like maybe a psychologist standpoint. But glass child syndrome.
Oh,
Are you
what's
familiar
that?
with this?
Nope.
You and I talked about it
Yeah.
the other day. So glass child syndrome is an informal term used to describe the challenges and unique strengths of siblings of children with chronic illnesses or disabilities.
The
So,
sibling of a child. So
That's
like your
right.
sister is a glass child.
right. Well, yeah,
A
right.
glass child. Is that what you would
Yeah,
say?
yeah. So actually, I texted Natasha to ask her about this, and I'll read to you what she said. But the term dates back to a 2010 TEDx talk by Alicia Maples, who had a brother with autism. And in her talk, she compares siblings of children with disabilities to glass children, not because they are fragile, but because parents look right through us, she said. They are siblings who often take on caretaker responsibilities and may feel emotionally neglected or invisible due to the focus on their siblings' needs. So I read this and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And immediately, obviously, thought of my sister, Natasha. And so I sent her the article and I said, hey, does this relate to you at all? And if so, how? And she said, honestly, no, I don't feel I had glass child syndrome. However, if you ask mom and dad, they might think otherwise. Mom said that my severe temper tantrums as a child, she thinks, were my way of seeking attention because you got a lot of it when we were younger. I can't say if they were or not because I don't remember, nor would I have understood at that age. But growing up now, I do not relate to anything listed on that site. Tash had, she would do this thing when she was really young, where she would just hold her breath and create pressure in her head until she turned like purple, and then would pass out.
Yeah, I've heard of kids doing that.
And one time,
pass out?
yes, and one time she did it and fell back, and the like wall floorboard heater, you know how those sharp corners, crushed, like smoked the back of her head off one of those.
Dude,
Oh,
I've
no.
fucked my skin up so bad on those many a time.
She would also just fuck you, Tash, just throwing you under the bus here. She would also bang her head at night. So she would go to bed. We'd put her to bed, or my dad would put her to bed, and we had a bunk bed, and I had the top bunk, and I would wake up to this sound of, and I would look down. It was kind of like Exorcist.
Dude, this is
I would
why
look down.
Jarrett loves horror.
And she would be she would be like curled up, like on her, like almost in like a child's pose on her knees. And she would just be continuously
Rocking.
banging the
Oh,
top of
God.
her head
Wow.
into the wall, to the point where the wall started to have a dent. And the way that I remember, I'll have to ask my dad, but the way I remember this whole thing stopping was my dad was like, "Hey, Jared, come with me.
Shook her aggressively.
Come with me, Jared. I got to shake a baby, and I need you to be there to help me." He was like, "Come with me." We went in, and he brought Natasha into the room. And he was like, "Tash, do you see this? Do you see this dent?" And she was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "If you keep banging your head, that dent's going to turn into a hole. And when that turns into a hole, a bunch of bees are going to come out of that wall."
My God.
Nothing like some trauma.
Oh my God. Oh my God. We can
He actually said that to her.
always find space for Nick Cage.
He actually said this to her. And then she stopped. She stopped after that.
Good. Yeah. See, it works.
So yeah,
Fear-mongering.
so the impacts of glass child syndrome, they can be prone to anxiety or depression, experience feelings of isolation, loneliness, and may have difficulty celebrating their own accomplishments. Some characteristics. So often I said they take on like a caretaker role. Glass children often take on significant caretaker responsibilities for their siblings with special needs. Pressure for perfection. They may feel pressured to be problem-free and present a perfect image to their parents and society. Early maturity. So due to their responsibilities, they may have to mature early, missing out on typical childhood experiences. Struggles with boundaries. I think that's one that a lot of people probably relate to. Glass children may have difficulty setting boundaries and may prioritize others' needs over their own. And hyper independence. So they learn to be self-sufficient from a young age, handling tasks and emotional process without much parental support. And obviously all of this comes with like a ton of various impacts later on in their life, from emotional strain to, again, prone to anxiety, to isolation and loneliness, difficulty celebrating. Maybe you're listening to this right now and you have, like you, Taylor, like you have 2 kids. Let's say, God forbid, in the next, whatever, like year or so, Naya ends up having some sort of chronic illness that presents itself. What can you do as a parent to try to support a sibling that has a child that has a sibling that has a disability? So there's a bunch of ways that parents can make sure that they aren't looking right through their child. One is provide siblings with age-appropriate information. So kind of like, I've talked a lot about on Turn Me On about talking about sexuality and sex and gender and all those things. There is no age that's too early to start. It just depends on the language that's used so that it is appropriate and fits for the understanding of the age of the child. So make sure you include your children in conversations and provide them with information that's appropriate for their age and situation. Another one is set a quality time for the sibling that is experiencing this glass child syndrome. So time is often what children need most from their parents. A woman named Emily Hall, the director of Sibling Support Project, has heard from many adult siblings who reflect fondly on simply just running errands with their parents, or the 20 minutes that they had alone with them after a sibling has gone to bed, where they worked on a puzzle or watched a TV show or talked or read a book or something. Another one that I thought was really interesting was create a joint journal. So this is an activity both the parent and the sibling can take part in. Sometimes writing feelings is a lot easier for children than it is to talk about them. So Hall said parents can write a journal entry as simple as, "I'm thinking of you, write back when you can," and leave it on their pillow. And it helps the child know that you're thinking of them and wanting to engage with them, which I think is just it's just so fucking sweet.
Yeah.
It's not too dissimilar from it reminds me a lot of like the things that Kyle and I focus on now, of having a 2-year-old and having a newborn,
right?
Yeah.
And going, all right, well, obviously the newborn just requires like so much more moment to moment attention, than Zaya does. But like, how do we make sure that Zaya doesn't feel like she's feeling neglected or isn't less important or anything like that? And there's a whole I mean, there's just a whole bunch of things that we just consciously and subconsciously do to just make sure that we're like really paying attention to Zaya and her behavior and playing with her and doing things with her and having things that are specifically with her. I mean, you know, I'm sure a lot of people with 2 kids think about that. And so if one kid develops a chronic illness, then thinking about how you thought about that process when the second child was born, I think I think a lot of people are already equipped with a lot of the tools, just need to kind of remember what those are and obviously use resources like this as well.
Diabetes. You've got siblings.
Yeah.
That's your name now. It's just diabetes.
Ayo, diabetes.
Diabetes. What are your thoughts? I mean, you have siblings. You have a chronic illness. Do you is this something you've ever talked about with your siblings or anything you've thought about? Or do you see, in hearing those things, do you see kind of?
Well, I didn't get it until I was 23 and my sisters were like 25 and 33 or something. So I don't think they would be affected by that. And like me being the youngest, like I think I already have like the youngest child thing where I'm like already spoiled and get a lot of the attention, but maybe in that way.
Is that true? Like, is that it? What's your take on that, being the youngest kid?
Yeah. Well, like what you were talking about with like having 2 kids, like my oldest sister was like 7 and was an only child for 7 years until my middle sister came along. So I think
she must have been so fucking
she
pissed.
was pissed. Yeah, she was. And yeah, I think it's just like understanding, like not even with kids with chronic illnesses or something, just sharing the energy or sharing. Yeah. But that can be hard when you have like a newborn or.
So by the time you had diabetes, like they were out of the house. They wouldn't have been hearing like just every fucking day, just.
Thank you. Oh God.
Oh God. Oh God.
Do you know that guy?
No.
Do you know the commercial?
Wilford Brimley? He's well, it was before your time because what are you, 18?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was
just
a long
shy
time
of
ago.
18.
Yeah. You didn't know what ICQ was, so of course you're not going to know fucking Wilford Brimley. Diabetes. That's a compilation of Wilford Brimley saying diabetes, along with another man that says diabetes. But you can see that they're from 2 different places in America.
Thanks for explaining that to us, Jeremy.
And 2 different
accents.
2 different times. So one other thing that I think is really important to add here, back to like what you can do, is include siblings in plans for the future. And I think this is something that parents typically probably don't think to do because they feel like it's probably not, I don't know, helpful or relevant. Quote, this is Emily Hull. Kids worry about the future and how they will care for their sibling. Get into the habit of including siblings in conversations about your child's care at every stage. So the, quote, future isn't big, abstract, scary, and looming. Instead, it's the natural next step. And again, like this kind of just reminds me of like the ways in which it's probably useful and helpful for us to include our children in conversations pertaining to, death is a good example, right? Where it's like, maybe there's a family member that's dying. It's like, don't keep them out of the loop. Keep them in those conversations so that it is like this thing that becomes natural for them and they have a vocabulary and they can take the time that they need to like develop an understanding for them at whatever the age that is.
And simple stuff. Like we're going to move to a new house in the summer. And
right.
We're like,
start the chat
We started
now.
being like, hey, we're moving into a new house. Like we're going to live somewhere else. And like just talking about that every so often and just going, so when it does happen, it's not this new, like, life-shattering change for her to move to a new place and sleep in a new house. But
a new place that's like far larger than what they're used to.
Definitely far larger than the current situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there you go. That's for any folks out there who are glass children or have glass children, or potentially might have a glass child in the future. It doesn't have to be your kid doesn't have to be so fragile. Or wait, sorry, no, your kid doesn't have to be so see-throughable.
See-throughable.
Yeah. Well, folks, Haeley, thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for filling in with Brian.
Now get back to work.
You spoke a fuck lot more than he did, which we're not used to. So, because Brian's just a little mouse, doesn't.
I'm infiltrating. That's why I got the job
right.
here. I wanted to take over Brian's spot.
That's it. Yeah.
Brian's fucking out.
And and Haeley's fucking in.
It's an Eastbound and Down reference.
Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. And we will be back next week with our regular scheduled programming. We're going to be talking about fetal alcohol syndrome. Really looking for. Oh wait, actually no, right. I don't think so.
Yeah, I was going to say you committed hard to that.
No, we're going to be talking about head trauma with a guy whose nickname is Car Bomb. So. It's an explosive one. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I like that.
And can't wait to bring that to you. In the meantime, if you want to support the podcast, follow the podcast on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can leave a like and a comment and fucking, I don't know, however you fucking interact with shit on those apps, just do it. Of course, videos are on YouTube. You can go over there and see our lovely faces and look at how much fun Haeley's having here. Look at what Haeley was looking at on the screen when we set up the cameras, and she was mortified to know that she's on a camera. So you can go over there and leave a comment. Let us know how cool Haeley is, and what you think of Actually, leave a comment on the YouTube page. Place your bets. How long until she cannot fucking handle hanging out with us any longer?
Yep. It's really just a click a timer.
It's a car bomb.
Ticking car bomb.
Ticking car bomb.
And is this coming out on May 1st?
Oh shit. Actually, Tay, it is. Oh my God, today's the day.
Today's the day. Well,
good thinking.
For all of you who are still listening at this point, go on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and search Breathless. It is a new podcast that Snack Labs, our production company, has put out into the world in partnership with CF Canada, and it's kind of like an audio doc series. It's very great. It's narrated by Jeremy,
narrated by yours truly,
and it's a really beautiful show. And I think our audience will really resonate with it. So if you like Sick Boy, it's a totally different type of show, but I think you'll really, really love it. It's some really deep creative work that we're really excited to put out into the world. So go over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, search Breathless, and follow and listen to the first episode as it has come out today.
Yes. Yeah, we put our hearts and souls into it, and we're really proud of this project for real. And it would mean the world to us if you went and gave that a listen, gave it a share, sent it to someone that you know, send it to someone that you don't know. That would be interesting. Just a random phone number.
Yep.
And just send them the link.
Yep.
And then say, listen to this podcast, and I am a prince in need of money, and if you can just wire me $50,000 so that you can save my family, and just see how they're
okay. Wrap the joke. I have a minute that started 1 minute ago.
Oh, you have a minute that started a minute ago. Fuck!
I have a meeting that started 1 minute ago.
That is that, and huge shout out to everybody that helps make this podcast possible. CBC Podcast, Donovan the Meerkat Morgan, Jeff Lonis, and of course Haeley, our new best friend here at the office. That is it for this week. I'm Haeley.
I'm Haeley.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Jeremy, and this is Sick Boy.